Crimson Desert is an overwhelming experience, and it never really stops throughout the dozens upon dozens of campaign hours. However, additional systems and features become unlocked as you progress, and they can make many things a fair bit easier if you go out of your way. Let's delve into it all, starting with auto-looting. Looting multiple items can become tiring, but there is a way to auto-loot. If you complete the Greymane quest, the Nag, and the Stubborn one under Scattered Embers, Cliff will receive a brown dog that can run around and loot corpses. The catch is that you have no control over what it will loot, and it can't collect materials like left-out food or ingredients. Nevertheless, it's pretty worthwhile if you're running around and liberating smaller locations. Recommended skills. Suplexing fools and pump-kicking fools is fun and all, but what are some of the more notable skills to unlock and upgrade? Turning Slash is definitely one, especially since upgrades allow for quickly transitioning from another attack into it and even ignoring enemy super armor. Forward Slash is another must-have since upgrading it, and Keen Senses, which is also great for dodge, are necessary to unlock Nature's Echo. This skill creates an illusion that replicates your attacks, increasing the number of hits from Forward Slash and even Stab if you upgrade it. Make sure to focus on unlocking Quick Swap as well, since it allows for rapidly switching between primary and secondary weapons in the heat of battle. Automated item and ammo gathering. As much as I feel like the bow needs some help with damage, poison arrows can be pretty good for thinning herds of enemies, especially with multi-shot and evasive shot. The best part is that you don't have to wait for them to show up. After establishing the Greymane camp in Hernan and recruiting more comrades, you can dispatch them to missions and key locations to garner valuable resources. However, they need to meet the skill requirements, so if someone isn't skilled in engineering, then they can't help produce poison arrows. The location itself must also not be blockaded, so clear it out beforehand. Keep in mind that poison arrows are only one example. If you're lacking ingredients like cabbage or eggs, send out your Greymanes to gather them for you. Missing in action. One of the more intriguing mechanics is that sending out a Greymane means they won't physically be at camp, which is fine and all, except if you have to turn in materials for a request, because that inventory isn't going to expand itself. Since expeditions are carried out non-stop in the background, go to Ross, select Manage Comrades, then Mission Dispatch. Highlight the mission to cancel, and said allies will reappear in the camp shortly after. Abyss Cores and how to use them. You'll begin earning Abyss Cores pretty early, especially when completing the challenges from the Sealed Abyss artifacts. These can add more attributes to a weapon, including increased critical rate, higher defense, and so on. However, they're unusable until you meet Elowen, the Witch of Wisdom in Chapter 5. She'll socket Abyss Cores into items with free slots and even extract them at no charge. But if you're opening slots, bring a hefty amount of silver, since each new slot costs more than the last. Of course, your gear also needs to have unopened slots to begin with. Don't count on suddenly being able to load up earnings and rings with Abyss Cores. Looting even more damaged gear. If you thought looting enemy gear and weapons to sell in the early game was a waste of time and a prelude for the rest of the game, good news! Later items sell for much more. Keep an eye out for damaged plate armor and weapons, especially post-Chapter 5, since they'll sell for decent amounts of silver. Since liberation missions and activities will become more common, the chances of plundering enemy gear are higher, which means more silver. Crime and punishment in Pywell. Cliff's Goody Two-Shoes Act is nice and all, but who can deny the thrill of stealing stuff and not getting caught? Stealing anything requires a mask, so promptly beat up the first couple of bandits that you see. When committing the act, ensure that there are no witnesses around, even if your contribution level in that region drops and the bright red pulse goes out. No witnesses means no punishment. Abyss Core Fusion. Not every Abyss Core is the bee's knees, but thankfully there is a way to transmute them into others. 3 options are available: Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3, which are all tied to the corresponding tier of the Abyss Core. The results are randomized, but if you're starting at Tier 1, there's a 46% chance that it could net a Tier 2. Crafting Tier 2s will have a 46% chance of a Tier 3, and crafting Tier 3s pretty much guarantees a Tier 3 core. However, all options have a 4% chance for a greater Abyss Core, so there's plenty of reason to re-roll. Finding Abyss Cores. So there's clearly an incentive to farm Abyss cores, but where do you get them? Pywell is packed with mysterious rock creatures that can drop them. Just beware that they'll put up a fight. The Crookstone Walkers in the Crimson Desert near the Spire of Sun are a good example, so keep an eye out and reap the rewards. One with the Force. Force Current allows for grappling with an item and then transmuting Force Palm's energy through it. You'll need level 2 of Force Palm and Axiom Force first, but it's worth it. Force Current can also be used to mine out of the way ore nodes, though I'd recommend using the Drill Arm instead for a chance at extra drops. Cuckoo items. As you explore Pywell, you'll discover Sanctums, which require clearing out enemies and then fixing their pillars to ultimately cleanse it. Completing all of them requires some story progression, but it's well worth it since they unlock new cuckoo items at Grimnir, who gives you a cuckoo pod for storing power cores, abyss cells, and whatnot. The more notable choices like the jetpack and laser helm require late-game materials, but it's still worth mopping up the Sanctums when you can. Palmer Pills. I know that feeling of sitting on Palmer Pills and wanting to revive to smack that jerk in the reed field around. Believe me. However, save them for later against much tougher opponents, and don't worry, helping the Jaeyong school out in Chapter 9 will unlock a recipe for crafting an enhanced Palmer Pill, which fully recovers your health on revival. Essential Research Institute upgrades. The Abyss is a mysterious phenomenon, one that the Scholastone Institute is very interested in researching. After finishing Chapter 4, speak to Grunvar, complete his request for some honey tea, and you can then commission him for different research. These include weather balloons like the Cloud Cruiser and Sky Streaker, the latter capable of reaching the Abyss. You can even unlock a blueprint for crafting fated Abyss artifacts used for resetting skills. Gang Warfare. After Chapter 8, you'll discover a side quest that requires traveling to 3 courts in Demonis to take out their respective bosses. However, you'll also need to slay the troops in the area, so why not send the Greymanes in first to clear out some of the riffraff beforehand? Another big brain play is to rush in, defeat the boss, and then leave. Then go to Mission Dispatch and tell the Greymanes to clear out the remaining rabble, thus saving some time. Resistance of 1000. Armor pieces offer different resistances against lighting, fire, and ice. However, simply equipping one with level 3 resistance isn't enough. You need at least level 5 from the combined resistance to gain immunity to the cold, heat, and shock. These will come in handy when exploring certain locations like the Crimson Desert, but that's not all. Level 10 will offer resistance to status ailments like burn, freeze, and shock, and level 15 means total immunity to them. Considering what some of those late-game bosses can dish out, keep at least 3 upgrade sets with corresponding resistances to gain an edge. Hey, did you know that we at GamingBolt upload new videos every day? Stick around, drop a like, subscribe, and hit that bell. And let us know what kind of content you'd like to see in the future with a comment below.